Vsauce Captain Kidd was a Scottish sailor famous for the legend of his buried treasure. People have searched for his treasure in places ranging from Long Island and Nova Scotia to Vietnam and the Japanese island of Takarajima, which literally translates to Treasure Island. But despite being recognized as the only pirate to have buried treasure, some believe he wasn't even a pirate at all and was falsely accused of piracy. So the idea of pirates burying treasure might have almost no basis in reality. What the Fak? The facts and knowledge on real historic pirates. Edward Teach was known for his intimidating stature and long black beard, which earned him the nickname Blackbeard. He'd intimidate enemies by tying lit fuses under his hat and to his beard, but in reality he was much less violent than many other pirates. After taking a royal pardon to stop pirating, it turned out he was still doing it. So after his capture in 1718, he reportedly had one of the most drawn out and epic deaths ever. It's said he was shot 5 times and received 20 sword cuts before a fatal blow to the neck finally felled the infamous Blackbeard. Then his head was cut off and hung from the ship to collect the reward for his death. It's thought that pirates may have worn eye patches to keep one eye adjusted to the dark for moving from the light above deck to the darkness below deck. Captain Benjamin Hornigold was at one time Blackbeard's boss. He commanded a ship called Ranger that was the most heavily armed ship in his region. He wasn't the most ruthless of pirates and once took over a ship just to steal hats. Apparently his men had gotten drunk the previous night and thrown their hats overboard, and they needed some new ones. Hornigold lost his captainship when he refused to attack English or Dutch vessels. He then became a pirate hunter in 1718 for Governor Woodes Rogers, which he died doing in a shipwreck during a hurricane. And he appears in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. The word pirate is from the Latin and Spanish pirata. Originally the Greek paratus, one who attacks, and piran, to attempt or try. Bartholomew Roberts, aka Black Bart, captured 470 vessels, making him the most successful pirate during the Golden Age of Piracy. He never intended on being a pirate, but when the slave ship Princess he worked on was taken by pirates, he was forced to join, and his ability to navigate made him invaluable to the captain. When he was eventually given command of his first ship, he said that since he had dipped his hands in muddy water and must be a pirate, it was better to command a ship than to be a common man. He was buried at sea by his crew as a final wish and was never found. The association of pirates with hook hands and peg legs may have arisen from so many crew members losing limbs during battle and while on the ship, but many that needed amputations didn't survive the surgery. Hooks and peg legs were popularized by fictional works such as Treasure Island and Peter Pan. François L'Olonnais was one of the most feared and vicious pirates of his time, with acts like reportedly ripping out a captive's heart and gnawing on it to intimidate his enemies. In 1667, his ship was destroyed and the majority of his crew were massacred by the Spanish. L'Olonnais covered himself in blood and sand and played dead until they left. Then disguised himself as a Spaniard, made his way to the city where they were celebrating his death, and convinced slaves to help him escape, where he got a new ship and men and resumed pirating. L'Olonnais was eventually captured, and an account from one man said he was hacked to pieces, cooked over a fire, and eaten because the Spanish despised him so much. Calico Jack, real name John Rackham, earned his nickname from the calico clothes he wore. He had 2 female crew members, Mary Read and Anne Bonny. Jack had an affair with Anne Bonny, who was to be whipped for adultery, but together they stole a ship and escaped. Mary Read, cross-dressed as a man, joined Jack's crew, was almost killed by Jack for showing too much interest in Anne Bonny until Read revealed she was actually a woman. Jack was captured and hanged in 1720, with his dead body gibbeted on display to deter other criminals. And he was responsible for the classic skull with crossed swords Jolly Roger. And here are some more famous Jolly Rogers. Henry Every was known as the King of Pirates. He's thought to have had the most profitable haul in pirate history when he led a small pirate squadron to overtake the Ganj e Sawai, the flagship of a 25-ship convoy of Grand Mughal vessels containing 600,000 pounds in metals and jewels. And amazingly, he's one of the few famous pirates thought to have escaped alive with his treasure. One story saying he disappeared to Madagascar with all of his loot and lived like a king. The other story is that he died penniless after squandering all of his money. The well-known pirate voice is an impersonation of West Country English, and Robert Newton, who was born in England not far from the birthplaces of many famous pirates, played both Long John Silver and Blackbeard in early Disney movies.
Armin.
Henry Morgan, the man whom Captain Morgan Rum is named after, was actually a privateer and not a pirate. A privateer is basically a legal pirate. Morgan was allowed to attack enemy ships and ports in exchange for sharing the loot with the crown, and he was even knighted by King Charles II. And although he's known as one of the greatest pirates ever, Morgan would have been offended to be called one. Parrots and monkeys were considered trophies of the exotic places pirates visited, and were often sold for high prices back in Europe. Madame Cheng was the most famous female pirate of all time. She commanded over 300 junks or Chinese sailing vessels with a crew of over 20,000 men, women, and children. She started out as a prostitute that was captured by pirates, married one of them, and took over his fleet. And she created a code that went like this: disobeying her or any superior meant immediate beheading. No one could steal from the public fund or anyone that supplied the pirates. All booty was presented for group inspection. The finder kept 20% and the rest went into the public fund. Actual money was given to the squadron leader to help unsuccessful ships, and pirates could choose to marry female captives, with the ugliest unchosen ones then being released. She was never defeated and eventually retired, opened a gambling house, and died at the age of 69. I'm gonna leave you with this pirate. Who was he and what was his nickname? Before we go, here's last video's winner. And as always, thanks ye for watching.
All right, men.